Hi, good morning everybody. It's Kurt Stahle, that plastics guy, and you know what I'm doing. I'm bringing you a tech tip that you could take to the shop floor with you today. And today's tech tip actually is inspired from a conversation that I had with an industry colleague on LinkedIn this morning. And shout out to Frederick at Soucy in Quebec, manufacturers of black master batch. He made a comment about using filled master batches. That's, in his case, a carbon black master batch with calcium added to it, which calcium being more or less cheaper than the actual base resin, using calcium to lower the cost. Using calcium and talc and compounding, it's nothing new, believe me. Adding calcium or talc can impact the physical properties of many resins, primarily polypropylene compounds used in automotive, for example. I guess maybe to a lesser extent, polyethylene compounds, but basically it's a cost reduction. Now, when you add a filler like that, a couple of things happen. These mineral fillers are much heavier, a higher specific gravity than the base resin. So a calcium carbonate might have, a specific gravity somewhere around 2.8, and your unfilled polypropylene and polyethylene will be about 0.89 or 0.90, somewhere in that neighborhood. So you can see if you add calcium, you actually make a much more, a heavier product. Okay, keep that in mind. But the calcium is cheaper than the resin, so you're adding it to create a less expensive compound. So from a buying perspective, you get a lower price. Hey, everything is great. This is fabulous. Well, no, it's not for a couple of reasons. And again, I'm going to stress this is application dependent. But if you're looking at a color master batch, like a black, you put calcium carbonate in there, you're increasing the density. You're typically using less carbon black in the product. So you may actually end up having to put more material, more colorant, more black master batch in your final application to get that nice deep dark jet black that you're looking for. So that's one issue. Now the next thing is you've added that calcium to the master batch, so you've created a heavier final part. So cheaper per pound, heavier part. Okay? You buy on a per pound basis, but you're shipping parts with a part weight to them, and you've just driven that part weight up. So many times, and you've got to run the math on it, what you save cost per pound on the resin does not translate into a cost savings on the volumetric calculation of the molded part. I'll give you another example. Back in the early 2000s, when I worked for A. Schulman, they had developed a soft touch TPE product for automotive interior soft touch applications. It was actually a PVC replacement for, I'm going deep into the memory banks here, GMX 367, the Pontiac Grand Prix. So we had introduced this material, developed it with General Motors, and the TPE product was unfilled. So very cool. It had a specific gravity of 0.89, 0.90, something like that. Again, like an unfilled polypropylene. But it was a more expensive product than PVC. But PVC had a density of about 1.41, 1.45, depending on the compound. So again, you're buying a more expensive product. I don't remember the exact list price, but I think it was somewhere around $2 a pound, US dollars per pound. And the PVC was nowhere near that. It was much, much less expensive. So you were paying more per pound, but you were getting a lighter product, which resulted in a lighter part, lower part cost. You buy per pound, but you sell your parts volumetrically. Run the math. It can take you a little bit of time, but if you buy a more expensive material that is lighter weight, it will more than likely translate to an overall cost savings on the part. So cost per pound is not the only part of the story that you have to consider when you're looking at sourcing material for your next application. And that is your tech tip today. We went a little bit into the math, or at least the conceptual aspects of the math. I encourage you to reach out if you'd like to have further dialogue with me on that. I can help you work out some of the math in your specific application. And again, shout out to Frederick at Susi in Quebec for raising this on LinkedIn. Cool point. I thought it was worth expanding on. So have an awesome Friday, and as always, a great weekend, and we'll be back next Friday for another tech tip. Take care. Bye for now.